Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on the TMI Show with me, Ted Rall, and Manila Chan. Manila is out today. She will be back Monday, we expect. So thanks to Robby West, our producer, for filling in. TMI is, of course, the Ted Manila Information Show. Also, too much information. Thanks for following us and liking us and sharing us all over the place. We appreciate your support. I don't know why the banner is blue this morning, Robby. I'm going to fix that while you say nice things to people.
Hey, listen, I can say nice things, and the banner doesn't look blue to me. It looks orange.
Oh, really?
It's orange and white to me. And up there at the
top, that's because of your eyes are like funky and Montana.
Well, it's because my eyes are working. Evidently, yours are broken. So here's the problem. No, you don't know you have a degree from a useless school called Columbia.
It's true. It's been de-accredited.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the whole point. Now, my high school diploma that I got is worth more than your college, than your diploma.
Presumably, you went to an accredited institution, secondary institution, unlike my post-secondary institution, Columbia School of Beauty.
Yeah.
By the way, I would like to point out my new haircut. That people were commenting on John's haircut, but not mine. I'm like, I got a haircut too. Jesus, no love.
Well, it just ain't short enough. That's the thing.
Look at this. Man, for me, that's pretty short.
Like right here, right here. Now my hair is getting long. I need to cut it before the snow flies.
It's weird how much I love to get my hair cut. It's like I think I look good shaggy, but I like to get I feel cleaner, just whatever. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news here. We have a lot to talk about, and we have a hard out at the end of the hour because I'm taping something with John Kyrgyz, so we'll be dealing with that later. Okay, so President Donald Trump says that the suspected shooter of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. The suspect has been ID'd as someone named Tyler Robinson. They said that they had thought that it was a college-age person, and in fact, this person's 22 years old from Utah. That, according to law enforcement officials. I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, Trump said in an interview on Fox News. Where else? I think we're in great shape. He's in custody. Essentially, somebody that was very close to him turned him in. Robby, it seems like it was probably his dad and or his pastor who turned him in. Remarks came that, by the way, that shows that the guy's not Catholic, because Catholic pastor wouldn't do that. The remarks came shortly before the authorities were set to hold a press conference. We'll see what happens there. That might be happening while we're talking here. So if that happens and we can break away to it, we will. Ahead of that event, 3 senior law enforcement officials told NBC that the suspect was turned over to the police by a family member who saw the photos that we all saw spread across the country by the FBI. Trump said that he was informed of the arrest minutes before the interview began and said that some details are subject to change. But, the facts are the facts. We have the person that we think is the person we're looking for, but they drove into the police headquarters and he's there now, Trump said. Trump added, helpfully, always in the cause of justice, I hope he gets the death penalty. The FBI released 2 grainy pictures of a person of interest and video showing a person jumping off the rooftop from where Kirk was shot and running away. But the authorities haven't yet formally announced, I don't think, this person's name. So the third time's a charm. There were 2 previous suspects that were held and then released. At least the first one was held by the campus rent-a-cops. So that's not surprising that they got the wrong person. Robby, you didn't go to college, but as someone who did, let me just tell you that campus police are more worthless than any mall cop. Paul Blart mall cop would be better.
Well, everyone's guilty of something, Ted. It doesn't have to be necessarily what the crime is, but everyone's guilty of something.
Yes, you just have to find out what it is. No, that's very true. So, all right. So I guess now we're at the stage where there's not a lot to say about this, but I mean, hey, whatever. I was talking to friend of the show and my friend Scott Stantis this morning, right before we went on. He thinks this is like a 9/11 type moment, one of those like benchmarks where, things shift, things change dramatically. And he said that I seemed pretty sanguine about it compared to him. And I said, well, we weren't really close friends back on 9/11, but if you talked to me on 9/12, I had a very wait and see attitude. And I was cautioning against doing stupid things like going to war in Afghanistan at the time on September 12th. In fact, if you go back and look at my very first cartoon after 9/11 that ran on September 12th, it's literally saying, let's not go to war because war would be a stupid response to this. So that's kind of my take. I'm in wait and see mode. I think this will be a game changer if there's retribution, if someone who's perceived as a liberal, a Democrat, a leftist is attacked in retaliation for this, then I would say that we're like in a new kind of moment. But right now, I think this is obviously it's a tragic occurrence, but I don't think I think it's too early to say the world has changed. What do you think?
I don't know, because in a lot of ways we're at the mercy of the least stable people that are out there. That's the problem. And so if you're
that's really well said.
Well, I mean, it's true, right? Because the perception on the right is that the people on the right are the ones who've been bleeding, right or wrong. That's the perception. You have the Trump supporter. You got shot in the head. I think it was last year in Seattle. You had Trump was nearly assassinated not once but twice last year. You have Joe Biden calling people like me garbage. You have Obama calling us bitter clingers. You've been called a Nazi supporters, racist, and ableists, for the last 8 years. And there's not really been a response. And so now someone who's very dear on the right on a live stream got took out with his wife and his kids there. I mean, people are pissed. And if you go on and just kind of insinuate this, the internet just kind of has its own little polls. So if you go on Blue Sky, you have a bunch of lefties celebrating, Charlie Kirk, getting taken out. If you go on Reddit or on X, you have people more of my persuasion. It's like, it's time to make these bastards bleed. And that's what I'm concerned about.
Now, the problem is that, look, I'm on Blue Sky, and mainly what I've basically seen is Charlie Kirk was a fascist asshole, but we don't approve of political violence. I don't know, by the way, if this were the other way around, and it has been the other way around, as we talked about yesterday.
Sure.
In recent years, the left is it's gone. There's been a little bit more left to right violence than there had been in the past. But, until the very recent past, it was almost exclusively right to left, where liberals and leftists were the victims of this stuff. I guess, is there any self-awareness this is probably an incredibly stupid question, but is there any self-awareness on the venues that you follow, Robby, among conservatives that this is, it seems to me like they're acting like the Israelis on October 7th. Like they think the war began October 7th. This didn't start. Political violence has been with this country since its inception. And people of all ideological persuasions have been victims of it. And certainly right wingers have killed a lot of lefties. Is there any awareness that this is not really a partisan thing?
Not really. I don't think in this situation. And I think it's because it feeds into the culture war. So there are some things that are immutable facts. For example, up to 5 minutes ago, there were two genders. There was men and women. That was it. And now you have the left saying, if you point out that this fact that you are a Nazi, hell, the other day on YouTube on Deprogram, some guy advocated for me to get assassinated. So it is what it is.
That's what happens when you express opinions in America, Robby. Trust me.
Oh, I know. I get it. And that's a big part of the problem is that there's no self-reflection. And a lot of this is by design, is because the Republicans and the Democrats, neither party is able or have a desire to actually deal with the issues of the American people. So if you don't want to address the actual issue, you've got to change the conversation. Well, the culture war allows you to do that until it gets super hot, and then you start having assassinations. And here's the problem. People on the right tend to be better armed than people on the left. People on the right also tend to be better marksmen than people on the left. And so I don't know where this ends. And that's what scares the hell out of me the most. Because as a Christian, I'm actually commanded not to take revenge against somebody who does me wrong. The problem is that as the country becomes more and more secular, or people just start embracing the identity of Christianity without really realizing what it actually means and what it entails, that's when you start getting the whole idea of an eye for an eye as opposed to turn the other cheek, because both of those are very valid in Christian thought. But you got to know what the context is. Right now, people on the right they're just like, you've been calling me a Nazi all this time. You're going out and you're shooting people. You got these thugs who've been in prison, who've been charged for 14 times, killing a white girl on a bus. Nothing happens. We're done with it. And that's the problem. That's when things get overheated. And so I think that what's happened is that this genie has been let out of the bottle, and I don't know how you put it back in.
No, I don't. Look, I think it's always been with us. I mean, think about, a really good point, right? Scary Girl says there's a whole ass Broadway play about political violence that goes down easy with dance. We're talking about Hamilton. It is what this country is. This country likes to we like to kill ourselves. We like to kill each other.
Yeah.
It's totally, it's totally who we are. Let's speculate a little bit. Okay, so let's assume, for the sake of argument, that Tyler Robinson is the guy in the photos. Probably, I would imagine. They have pretty good photos. They have better photos of him than they have of Luigi. He was wearing a patriotic right-wing themed T-shirt with an American flag and an eagle on it. So unless he's like my kid wearing it sarcastically, or ironically. He's, the question is, do you think this was a way to blend in with the crowd and not be suspected? Or do you think he might have been, or this could be right on right violence?
I was talking to John Kiriakou last night, just kind of chatting. It's so crazy. I'm actually just talking to these people who have been just looking up to as heroes for years. Now I just talk to them every day. It's wild. And I was telling him, I'm one of those weird kind of people. I like to war game things out and put myself in someone else's place. Like, say, for example, if I was a nut job, which arguably I am, but let's just say I was a homicidal nut job, and I wanted to take out a leftist commentator, like whenever she went to the Missoula, Montana the University of Montana earlier this year. I would 100% go in and dress up, like a Bernie bro. Mm-hmm. The best way to hide is in plain sight.
Yeah, hunters know about camouflage, right?
Yeah, so you just go in, you blend, and after I took my shot, now FBI, I'm not saying I'm going to do this, so y'all please don't come and arrest me today. I'm just telling you what I would do if I did this thing. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't jump off a roof like what this guy did. I would go blend in with the crowd. Everyone's got backpacks. Everyone's got water bottles. That's how I would do it.
Yeah,
that's 100% what I would do.
Break the gun down, put it into your backpack, run no faster and no slower than anybody else.
No, just go to the crowd. I mean,
by the way, the other thing I never understood, like, again, if I were planning something like this, I would have a cabin in the mountains rented for 6 months, fully stocked, and I would never leave that cabin. I would wait till the trail got cold, law enforcement gave up looking, and before I ever showed my face again. I wouldn't be out and about. No. I'm always interested in this idea of like relatives who turn in their family members. Scott asked me if I would have turned in my kid, and I gotta say, no, I wouldn't. The only thing I probably would have done is encouraged, hired him a lawyer and tried to negotiate his surrender. Because, if you just call 911 and say, hey, I have this wanted guy is my kid, that the SWAT team's going to come in and kill everybody. So It's better to negotiate these things, and or I guess maybe just drive them to the police precinct, walk in and say, "Hi, I'm surrendering." That might be the way to go.
Unless the guy wanted the money.
By the way, I've got to say this. I haven't heard anyone say this. Robby, it seems to be like with a $100,000 reward, they kind of sort of wanted to catch the guy. I mean, they weren't that interested, were they? I mean, $100,000 isn't that much money.
Well, I mean, you got to. There's a reason why that I made a thumbnail of Kash Patel standing in front of a 7-Eleven. And the reason is because I don't think this moron is capable of running a 7-Eleven. If this is real, and it's a big if this is real, it's because he was caught because of the guy's dad, and he was caught despite Kash Patel and his leadership, not because of it. So it's kind of like the Peter principle. You just fell upward to the point where you can't anymore. Yeah. And I think that's really all that this is. I mean, if I really wanted to do this, I would go out. So, okay, I would just pull my cards on the table. So, okay, here's what it is. This guy killed Charlie Kirk or Ted Rall or Robby West or whoever it is happened to be. I want this guy's head on a plate. I'm offering $500,000 to whoever lets me know where this bastard is. And I live in Montana. I have no problem going Old West style. I want him dead or alive. Problem solved. I mean, this whole $100,000 adjusted after inflation, that'll last you what, maybe 6 months?
It's just not a lot of money for a person wanted for such an incredibly high profile crime, right? It's just hilarious. Remember, Osama bin Laden had a $25 million bounty on his head, just to put that into perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just, if they got the guy, I don't know. I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced either.
A lot of it is personal. I got to admit, Kash Patel, whenever he was auditioning for his job, he said that his goal was to turn the J. Edgar Hoover building into a museum. That guy's a complete total wanker. I mean, he sucks in every way, shape, and form. He's just a total moron, and I don't want to give him any points. I just don't.
Everybody's going to be looking around now for. All right. Well, and by the way,
did Charlie Kirk order? Did Netanyahu order Charlie Kirk's assassination? We can put a lot of things on Israel. This ain't one of them.
Well, speaking of which, let's move on here because we do have a hard out. All right. So although the White House is pushing to resume ceasefire talks between Trump and Hamas, President Trump and his closest aides are starting to maybe kind of get worried that Israel's attack on Qatar this week has derailed the negotiations, possibly forever.
That was the point.
Yes. The administration's frustrations with Netanyahu have deepened since the Israeli strike, according to a person close to the national security team and a U.S. official familiar with the situation. In fact, Trump and top aides have come to question whether Netanyahu was actually trying to sabotage the talks. You think? Every time they're making progress, it seems like he bombs someone, the person said. That's why the president and his aides are so frustrated with Netanyahu. Stop the presses. Breaking news. At the same time, the White House has been working to calm the Qataris, whose top leaders have used words such as barbaric to describe the Israeli move. And I would agree. I mean, literally, Qatar was the neutral territory chosen by both sides for ceasefire negotiations, and the Israelis bombed the neutral territory. Qatar's prime minister will be visiting New York and Washington today, and he's expected to meet top U.S. officials, including the president, to discuss the Israeli attack on Qatar and the status of the ceasefire talks in Gaza. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and Steve Witkoff are all expected to meet with the Qatari envoy. The person close to the national security team says Rubio has also talked to the Qatari premier, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani, say that 5 times fast, about prioritizing a plan to expand its defense cooperation agreement with the U.S. Listen to that, right? Like, You already have a giant U.S. Air Force base in your country. Point? Yeah, like, I mean, what are they going to do? Shoot down the Israelis? I mean, it'd be easy to do. It'd be like, oh, look, those are the jets that we sold the Israelis. Hey, let's shoot them down. Hilarious. Just completely, like, what a bunch of, it's so funny. Your little dialectical boo says Marco Rubio is such a chud. I'd say he's a chode. But I mean, Jesus Christ, what a fool.
I mean, I have nothing I've got nothing to add. I mean, the meme literally writes itself. I mean, no, you enter into a security agreement, and then the real president of the United States bombs the country which your Air Force base is in, and middle management, a la Trump, is all of a sudden concerned that his boss didn't consult him first. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. I'm more interested to hear what's going on, what the people in Saudi Arabia are saying, because the Saudis had to allow Israel to fly over their country to do this. And I've not heard a peep from Saudi Arabian media.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it is possible that they used stealth technology. These were F-35 fighter jets. They do have stealth technology, but the Saudis have the ability to detect that stuff too. So
yeah, well, we trained them. I mean, no, when I lived in Pensacola, at NAS Pensacola, that's
well, my dad told the Saudis the AWACS. So I know.
I mean, they've got it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the fact that Trump is like, Bibi's not consulting me. Maybe it's because Bibi doesn't respect you, Trump. It could be. It could be that. Maybe he thinks that you're a moron.
Yes, and maybe he would be right.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Yeah, there's not much more to say that. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
No, it's funny as hell. I mean, no, the next time that you got to have a diplomatic shindig in Switzerland, you should 100% bomb the diplomats, because that is a great way to let the world know how much you want peace.
Yeah, everyone takes you very seriously then. Yeah. All right. Addressing insomnia isn't just a fight against tomorrow's mid-afternoon fatigue. It could actually help protect you against brain aging, according to a new study. Sleep difficulties, obviously, are very commonplace. 12% of Americans have been diagnosed with chronic insomnia, according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. Unlike genetic and other factors that go into cognitive health that are not under your control, insomnia is the one that you could actually do something about, according to a new study published in the journal Neurology. The main takeaway for the study is that chronic insomnia may be a modifiable risk factor for cognitive decline, according to lead study author Diego Carvalho, assistant professor of neurology and sleep specialist at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. For the research, 2,750 people underwent 5 years of annual neurological assessments and brain imaging, along with evaluations of their sleep habits, in order to investigate the association between insomnia and brain changes. Insomnia was found to be linked to a 40% increased risk of cognitive impairment, according to the data. People who had insomnia but increased their sleep time or utilized medication did not experience the same detriment to their cognitive decline. We can't say for sure that treating insomnia will necessarily reduce your risks because we lack that data, but I think there's a growing interest in that potential venue, Carvalho says. These days we're hearing about a lot of different stuff that's impacting dementia. There was this weight study that came out recently that said if you're obese, you might be more likely to become demented. But interestingly, if you have severe weight loss, like through all at once, like especially when you're older, especially if you're over 60, and you do, like, say, Ozempic, and you lose a lot of weight, even if you're overweight, it's better to stay overweight, even obese, than to lose a lot of weight at once, especially when you're over 60. And because that too can contribute to dementia, because the fat cells in your body are processed through your brain and keep your brain healthy. So this shit's complicated and super interesting.
No, I agree. And Yeah, I've read a lot of reports because of my day job, with dementia and stuff, and I think that nutrition plays a role into it, at least from everything that I've read. And really, just the biggest thing, honestly, just keeping your brain busy. Read a lot. It seems like just the more that you use your brain, just seems to be the more resistant it is to this kind of thing. But as your resident person who almost never sleeps, I am interested in insomnia because I am an insomniac, but I don't know if that's because I'm just a workaholic or what. I don't know.
Well, I mean, obviously, exercise helps with insomnia. Cold room, heavy blankets. I don't know if you do that.
Oh, in Montana, no, never.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there are people I knew people growing up when Ohio was cold. My neighbor across the street used to have the heat up to like 80 degrees all winter long. So there are people like that.
Yeah, no, true story. No, in the wintertime, whenever, especially it gets really nice and cold here, what me and Kizzy will do, we'll open up the window there in the bedroom, and then just put just a bunch of blankets over.
It's so good. You're like a bear then.
Oh, when it's like 10 or 15 below zero outside, and that winter blast just comes in, it feels so good. And then you spoon up against your sweet little chocolate honey. It's just like, okay, this is it. We're going down.
It's like, of course, the hard part is like if you have to get up in the middle of the night to pee.
Oh, then your dick freezes off.
It's not good.
If you're a girl, you don't have that problem. But if you're a guy,
that's true. Well, I don't know. You could be a shamale.
I don't know what that is.
No. It's from Arrested Development. It's in Arrested Development. There's a scene where a woman, the mother of the house, comes back from the fair, and she has a T-shirt that says "shemale" on it, and it's like, Mom, why are you wearing that? And she's like, what? It says "shamale."
Yeah, well, one of the things that honestly, and I just thought about this because I'm slow. If there's a tranny out there who wants to transition, just come out here to Montana. February is the coldest month of the year. Up here where I am, it's typically about 40 below zero for, like, last winter is about 3 weeks. Just go out there, just lay your schlong on a brick, and then just kind of just chill out. It will freeze and break off.
It'll just snap off.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably cheaper.
Well, also you won't bleed out because it's so cold. Just the capillaries and stuff. They just shrink to the point and just you're done. So this is the kind of high quality medical information that you need from the TMI show. How to transition for free in God's country.
There you go. All right. So anyway, the lesson here is, if you have insomnia, and this is an important thing because a lot of people over 60 in particular think that just insomnia is part of getting old, and that's not really true. It is treatable. There's things you can do. There's meds. There's lots of stuff. So take it seriously because it could really fuck you up. And then if you get dementia, you won't even know that you're suffering from insomnia. So
no. In all seriousness, though, I think that dementia is the cruelest disease that we have. I would rather have cancer than dementia.
Me too.
Let me keep my mind.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with you there. All right, Robby. I love this story. After accumulating more than $16,000 in gambling debts, a dude jumped off a cruise ship after it docked in Puerto Rico last weekend. The dude, Jay Gonzalez Diaz, leapt from the Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas at 9:15 in the morning on September 7th during the disembarkation process, according to a criminal complaint filed in the U.S. District Court in Puerto Rico. He was rescued by two people, one of whom pulled him onto his jet ski. He was brought to shore before Customs and Border Protection officers detained him at 9:45. The Rhapsody of the Seas has 12 decks, but it was unclear which deck Gonzalez Diaz jumped from. He's been charged with attempting to avoid monetary reporting requirements. When asked why he did this, Gonzalez Diaz told customs officers that he didn't want to declare the currency he had on him because he didn't want to be taxed. But according to Royal Caribbean, Gonzalez Diaz owes them $16,700 in debts with the cruise line. most of it in casino and gaming expenses. He boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas in Puerto Rico on August 31st. So I love this. He owes $16,710, right?
Right.
He was found with $14,600 in cash in a backpack, along with a U.S. passport, a Social Security card, Puerto Rican birth certificate, Tennessee state ID, and a Royal Caribbean boarding card. The IDs had conflicting names, raising further questions. A spokesperson for Royal Caribbean said that the cruise lines was cooperating with the authorities and declined to comment. Gonzalez Diaz's lawyer didn't respond to a request for comment, probably because he's trying to figure out what's wrong with his fucking client. So, question though, what about? I mean, he owes the ship 16 plus. He has nearly 15 on him. You know what I'm going to say? Why didn't he just say, "Hey, here's 15 out of 16. I owe you $1,000. I'll get it to you later."
I mean, I have a better question. So if you're able to, so let's just assume this guy has a job kind of like what we have. We're able to work remotely.
Yeah.
Why would you even have a house? If I had that kind of money, I would live on a cruise ship. Honestly, no mortgage. Follow me on this. No mortgage payment, no rent, no insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You have room and board. You got food.
Yep.
You can gamble all you want. I mean, why not just live on a cruise ship?
Robby, there are people. You do know there are people who live on cruise ships.
I did not know that.
No, that's a thing. That is definitely a thing, especially
hell, that's what I would have done.
Older people. But yeah, you basically the only thing is they have to get my understanding is that they have to get off when they get back to port. They have to disembark for 6 hours or something, and basically go get lost while the ship is serviced during that time. I think they might even have to take all their crap with them. I'm not even sure about that, but they are definitely, there are people who literally give up their homes and, and this is how they live.
I mean, hell, that's what I would do. If I had that kind of money. I mean,
you have to really like cruising though, which I do, but not everybody does.
Well, I've never been on a cruise, but the point is, though, I mean, you're like a turtle. You take your house with you everywhere that you go. You get to go see all these new things. You could go and see yourself all these, especially if you're a single dude. You just go see all these exotic hotties all over the country, or countries in this case. Why wouldn't you? You even have a swimming pool and you got to clean it. But as far as this dude not paying his bill, I mean, I don't know, it just seems kind of dumb. If I was going to take myself out, I think I would just jump on top of the propeller.
just jumping off the ship like, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah, and then you're failing. I mean, you know that you fail at life whenever you fail to end it. I mean, I don't understand.
Well, I don't know if he was trying to. I don't think he was trying. I think he was trying to escape. Right. That's why he got out at the. That's why he waited till disembarkation. He didn't jump off on the high seas. He would definitely have never been heard from again.
Well, the thing is, Ted, is retarded because they have your ID. They've got your credit card. They know who you are. They have your information. So even if you did this, even if you managed to slip away into the sunny paradise of Puerto Rico, they still have all your stuff. They have all your information.
Yeah,
what have you accomplished?
Not to mention whatever he came on board with, right? Like his luggage. Of
course.
And he didn't leave with that. So he went on a gambling bender on the ship. And I don't even understand how that happens. I've only been on a cruise a few times. And in each of those cases, I'm pretty sure I had to give a credit card. You end up with your ID. You carry your ID on a lanyard. And but that and you use that to buy things. Like, let's say you want to buy a T-shirt from the gift shop, or you want to go gambling. They charge it to your lanyard, right? But your lanyard's tied into a credit card. So how come the cruise line didn't just, nail his Visa card? I don't get it.
Oh, that's what I would have done. I mean, hell, even if I took myself out by jumping onto a propeller, I would have still done that. I mean, I don't understand what the guy was doing. I mean, I do not understand. My brain is too small. I do not understand this.
Well, you and I, we share small brains that way. And finally, last but not least, certainly most interestingly, while some human beings find that they have 2 left feet on the dance floor, octopuses manage to coordinate 8 highly flexible arms across a host of behaviors, from foraging to den building or moving around the seafloor. Now, researchers have completed the most comprehensive study of its kind, not only identifying the actions and small motions involved in different types of movements, but revealing that, like primates, rodents, and fish, the cephalopods prefer to use particular limbs for certain tasks. In general, we did see that for most actions, the octopuses used their front arms more often than their back arms. That, according to Kendra Buresh, co-author of the study based at the Marine Biological Lab in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. I would have loved to have worked there. However, she noted that there are exceptions. Writing in the journal Scientific Reports, Buresh and her colleagues reveal how they analyzed 25 one-minute video clips of 25 wild octopuses across 3 species. These were filmed between 2007 and 2015 at 6 sites ranging from Vigo in Spain to the Cayman Islands, each with a different habitat. For each clip, the researchers classified the behavior of the octopus, like fetching an object or walking, then classified the arm actions involved, such as curling the limb or reaching it away from the body. The team also explored which of the 4 ways octopus arms can deform. Shortening, elongating, bending, and twisting was involved in each action. Overall, the team identified 15 different octopus behaviors and 12 different arm actions, with some, like crawling or parachute attack, requiring more arm actions than others, such as backward swimming. The team found multiple arm actions could occur at the same time on the same or adjacent arms, and that all 8 arms were capable of all actions and deformations. This means that octopuses can be very flexible and adaptable in many different environments and tasks, said Buresh. The team say the results provides new insights into how octopuses coordinate their 8 flexible arms to carry out complex behaviors and to multitask, while the findings could also be useful beyond marine science. Such demonstrations of flexibility may help inform ethologists, sensory ecologists, neuroscientists, and engineers designing soft robotic appendages, they wrote.
I don't know a whole lot about octopuses. I know I like to eat them. They taste great.
They do taste great. They are very fucking smart. There's a crazy movie called My Octopus Friend, I think it's called, about a guy who kind of like basically developed an intimate relationship with an octopus. They learn very, very quickly. And, they have, some of them have this crazy camouflage thing. So, I dive, and like one time in the Caribbean, I had an octopus kind of play with me, and it like would land on my arm. And then within seconds, you could watch its color and its texture adjust to that of my arm. So even mimicking like the hairs on my arm, it was so amazingly interesting. They can shrink down into tiny little spaces and then like expand massively. I mean, octopuses are gods.
I did not know they could change colors like chameleons. I just knew that they were able to squirt ink.
Well, I thought that was squid. That's squids.
Maybe.
Ted, they're closely related.
Ted, I am the opposite of the octopus. I am not smart. I'm really just kind of retarded. So I could learn from the octopus. Now, we can all learn from the octopus. So I'm jealous about octopuses in 2 ways. One, God always saw fit to give humans 2 arms. I wish I had a tail. That's why I know evolution's not real. Because if it was, we would have tails to open doors whenever we're bringing groceries for the wife or other things, or holding the flashlight. And I envy the octopus because they're able to do so many things at one time. And unlike your esteemed producer, they're smart, and evidently they can change colors.
Well, I think that I was looking to see if there's any new news on the shooter situation. I would like to have a tail too. Some people are born with a tail.
They get snipped off.
Yeah, they get snipped off. Well, in your job, do you ever see that? Very
rarely, very, very rarely, but sometimes. Like maybe 1 out of every 10,000 births.
Because I think if you had like a real tail, like the length of Clovis's or something like that, you could probably jump like 30 feet up.
Oh, it'd be awesome. Or if you're able to manipulate objects with it. Like, no, I suck. Listen, I'm a married man. And so my wife, she has this thing that is the bane of every married man in existence, known as the honey-do list. Usually that involves going down to the car and bringing in groceries. Well, now I live in this apartment, and Ted, you've been here. Mm-hmm. You got to open the door to get in to the apartment complex, and then you got to open another door to actually get into the apartment.
Right.
Well, I have teenage kids, and they're dumber than I am. So trying to get them to open the doors sometimes can be difficult. I wish I had a tail so I could open doors by turning doorknobs, but I don't, and it makes me sad.
Fox News is publishing the mugshot of Tyler Robinson.
Oh, so they arrested the kid, huh?
Yeah, they arrested him. Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe this is the human.
Could be. Always possible.
Yeah. No, even Kash Patel could get something right.
Yeah. By the way, I don't understand why the FBI was involved. There was no evidence that any crime took place across state lines. Shouldn't this have been an issue for local and maybe state law enforcement?
Of course. But, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems that I have, with the American right. Just like, well, we got to have the FBI. My question is why? It's unconstitutional. It should not exist. I do not understand this. I don't understand why the federal government does most of what it does, specifically within the borders of a state. What's the point? Yep.
Well, by the way, so do you believe in intelligent design? I've always wanted to ask you that. It just came up in the Rumble chat.
I do.
You do?
I do.
I mean, but then how do you explain things like the appendix or the lack of tail or all those things?
As far as that goes, for whatever reason, God decided that's how this has to be.
Or why do men have boobs? Or why do we have nipples?
Well, we have boobs, so that way our wives can play with them, obviously.
I do not believe in intelligent design. Also, if I believed in intelligent design, I'd feel like, okay, well, the year wouldn't be 365.264 days long, right? I mean, we wouldn't have to have leap seconds. Everything would fit together a little better.
Well, you got to remember, I mean, God had a plan whenever he made people, but then he lets us screw up stuff and be morons. So that's part of free will. Like,
why would he do that?
Because he gives us the
cantankerous.
Well, he gives us the ability to make our own choices.
Yeah, but why?
Because we're not ants; we're sentient.
I know. That's just sort of saying the same thing again. But why? Seriously, like, what was the purpose of that? I mean, it's like, I know that we are made that way, but
the Bible says that he created us for his pleasure. So, I mean, we are his pets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the answer. People like to hear that, but no, we were created for his pleasure.
So you're saying like Clovis,
yes.
How I was created for Clovis's pleasure.
Yes. And that's why Clovis is superior to you.
Well, he is superior to me. He's certainly better looking. All right. So with that, this is gonna be a short show. I've got to get ready for. I'm taping episode 5 of the Rumble Premium Edition of Deprogram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou.
Yep.
Where this will be the last and final installment of his autobiography. This doesn't mean his life ends. It just means that. We'll do a 6th one like at some point in the future.
Yeah, and these will be airing next month because we've got our 5 hours of premium content. So I'm just saving all this over for next month. So if you're on Rumble, if you want to see it, there's 2 ways that you can do it. One, you become a channel subscriber. That's $5 a month, or you can become a Rumble Premium subscriber for $10 a month. And so either way, that way you can see the premium content. And speaking of that, we do have an ad if you want me to go ahead and read that for you.
Go ahead and read it, please.
All right. It's going to be for $17.75 coffee. By the way, it's great coffee. I do enjoy it. It's good stuff.
Okay.
Still haven't tried $17.75 coffee? Now's your shot. The $17.75 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon, because freedom ain't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, and a black $17.75 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is the ones who've been watching $17.75 blow up on Rumble. One, if it's actually worth it, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. And just on a personal note, I want to just give Rumble a huge shout out because they have really been helping us with the TMI show and Deprogrammed.
Yes,
and
they have.
That is 100% fact. We could not do this without them.
That's really true. I have nothing to add to that except to say yes, totally.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We will be back Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We're always here Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time for the TMI show. Manila gets back on Monday, but Robby will be in the wings, no doubt, waiting for things to say. I'll be on Deprogram, 5 p.m. Eastern time. We're there Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. with John Kiriakou and myself. Please check out my website, Rall.com. Might want to check out my new book, What's Left. Thanks, everyone, and have a great...
And my gaming channel. Check out my gaming channel, Putinbot Gaming. Go there.
Putinbot Gaming. Go check that out for sure. You have to make that ad for me so we can run that.
Yeah.
Right. I know you have nothing better. You have nothing else to do.
No, okay. Just plug it. I'll just shamelessly just drop my link like I've been doing. That works.
Arrivederci.
Bye-bye, y'all.
So I have figured out